We have a CBS News investigation into an unprecedented review underway in Maryland right now of 100 cases of people who died in police custody. All of these deaths happened during the tenure of former state medical examiner Dr. David Fowler. His testimony in the George Floyd murder case last year led to the review. Chief investigative correspondent Jim Axelrod is with us now with more on the story. The interview that we saw with the woman that you talked to was certainly a tease for this piece.
Powerful, Gayle.
Yes,
powerful.
It was.
As chief medical examiner for the state of Maryland, Dr. David Fowler oversaw more than 1,300 cases of deaths in custody. His record is now being called into question following his testimony as a witness for the defense in the trial last year of the Minneapolis police officer convicted of murdering George Floyd. A warning: some of the footage of George Floyd's final encounter with police is difficult to watch.
Your Honor, the defense calls Dr. David Fowler.
When medical examiner David Fowler took the stand in 2021 as a defense expert for Derek Chauvin, the cop convicted of murdering George Floyd, Tawanda Jones was watching the trial from her home in Baltimore.
I wanted to knock my TV off the wall. This man that I've been telling y'all about, you put him up to be an expert witness? Are you serious?
This is one of those cases where you have so many conflicting different manners.
Dr. Fowler saw what few others did.
I would fall back to undetermined.
He argued that a combination of factors made it impossible to determine the true cause of Floyd's death. Dr. Fowler's position conflicted with the clear video evidence.
Find the defendant guilty.
And the jury's verdict.
I was disgusted.
Jones was disgusted because Dr. Fowler was the chief medical examiner for the state of Maryland, who signed off on the ruling that the manner of death could not be determined in another case in 2013, the death of her own brother, Tyrone West.
I instantly died with my brother on July the 18th.
West was pulled over by police in Baltimore nearly a decade ago. He struggled with the cops, was cuffed, and died.
They just said that my brother had some type of health issue and died in police restraint. That was their words. And we're like, what health issue? Like, what are you talking about?
What do you think was going on?
They were covering up.
But Tawanda Jones wasn't the only one outraged by Dr. Fowler's testimony.
To have that type of analysis on the stand, I was appalled.
Dr. Roger Mitchell spent 7 years as the chief medical examiner in Washington, D.C.
I knew I had to do something at that point.
Dr. Mitchell wrote this letter calling for an immediate review of every death in custody during Dr. Fowler's tenure in Maryland. 1,300 cases over 17 years.
In the work that I've done throughout the country, there is a culture of deciding when there is an altercation with law enforcement. Their manners of death are called accidents and undetermined.
How does that change the potential likelihood of a prosecution of a law enforcement officer for the death of somebody in custody?
I think it's a big issue. Many prosecutors won't take a case to prosecution if it's determined as an accident or an undetermined.
More than 400 other medical professionals signed on to Mitchell's letter calling for a review.
When you get a letter from 400 experts saying something's wrong, there's a pretty good chance that they have something that you should take a hard look at.
Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosh has zeroed in on about 100 cases of individuals in custody who were physically restrained and then died, with Dr. Fowler's office then ruling the cause as undetermined.
It was the undetermined that we were most interested in. But more importantly, we want to see, is there a routine that is wrong?
Would it be your expectation that this review could lead to criminal charges if they were warranted?
Well, if they were warranted, I would hope that it would.
The 100 cases under review are being kept secret, but Tawanda Jones refuses to believe her brother's case could be forgotten.
What are you going to do if your brother's case is not among the 100+ being reviewed?
Oh, I know it is. I know it is. But in the case that it's not, I'm going to keep on fighting like I've been fighting.
We wrote to and called Dr. Fowler several times. He did not respond. However, earlier he had said in a statement that he's confident his office, quote, met or exceeded professional standards.
So we're hearing that they're reviewing 100 cases.
Yeah.
What's going to come next? I'm still stuck by her last comment about her brother's case. Do we know if her brother's case is part of it, and what does come next?
Well, first things first. So the AG we just heard from leaves office January 3rd. The incoming Attorney General, a man named Anthony Brown, hasn't committed yet to whether or not this process will continue. He hasn't said it won't. He hasn't given any indication, but we have to wait until January 3rd to see if the next Attorney General will continue this. It's a long and complex process.
Is Fowler still in business, so to speak?
Well, I mean, he is not the medical examiner, but he is offering defense testimony in cases, as you saw he did in the Chauvin case.
But if the new guy comes in, Jim, and decides he doesn't want to review it, is that the end of it?
Yeah, but he hasn't given any indication. Okay. And I will say it's a process that could take, I mean, we're talking weeks, months, years. It's not going to be days.
Right.
But we will be staying on this story. Too important to lose track of.
Jim Axelrod, thank you.